Well, good afternoon. Good afternoon and welcome to another webinar Wednesday hosted by the CSU Bakersfield Small Business Development Center. Good afternoon, I'm Kelly Bearden and I'm here for number 255 in our webinar series that is dated back for quite a while. We're going to have a great discussion today about the Center for Entrepreneurship and Innovation's first accelerator program that was completed. And we have the interim dean of the School of Business and Public Administration, Dr. Seung Bach. He'll be here today. But first, let's cut through some of the news and other things that are going on. Okay, what's happening today, December 21st, 2022? Well, last week we kind of talked a little bit about the restaurant revitalization tax credit legislation that was happening. Mentioned that there were some more grants made in that program to the tune of about $83 million that represented the end of help for restaurants. Restaurants are still one of the most challenged industries coming out of the pandemic and moving through tougher economic times. So we continue to spend a lot of time with that particular industry. So we're going to have a few details on what is shaping to be a legislative fix potentially for those 175,000 small businesses across the country in the restaurant business that did not get the restaurant revitalization grant. We're going to have a little bit of economic news that, well, I don't know if you should know it, but you will after today. So it's going to be economic news that's out there. There's so much economic news going on all the time, it seems like. We'll give you maybe a little different spin on some of the economic news and some other news that's happening affecting your small business potentially. Also, our capital report today will discuss a few things that are a little bit, as far as accessing capital, a little bit different, where we actually have more questions and answers. We like to say we have answers for helping you find and access that capital to grow or start your business. But today, leading into 2023, we'll have a few questions, maybe more questions than answers today. We'll provide you updates on the California Micro Grant Program, which is out of the Office of the Small Business Advocate, and the California Dream Fund Program, which is out of the Office of the Small Business Advocate. A couple of information pieces on those that have been going on much of 2022. We'll have a discussion on with Dr. Seung Bach with the initial findings, the initial work done by the CSU Bakersfield Center for Entrepreneurship and Innovation. The accelerator, which hosted about 9 individuals that started and 9 individuals that completed the 10-week training, and talk about some of the findings and some of the information that came out of that, some of the assistance. And you'll probably get my 2 cents in on it too, being a member of the advisory committee of that board, and actually presenting to the class one Saturday. So you'll get a little bit of information from me as they pitched their products, their services, their plans for expansion, etc. So we'll find out even more accelerators that are coming up and how you can get in on this with your business if you so desire. Hey, there's only 3 shopping days until Christmas. This used to be about the time when I'd start getting warmed up to go get some Christmas presents. But gee, these days you have to start a little bit sooner. So as our public service for today, in the holiday season, you have 3 days until Christmas to get that last minute shopping done. And happy Hanukkah to those celebrating that holiday that began on Monday. And as always, we'll have a poll and take some of your questions today, maybe take some of them by email. But let's start with that poll question right now. One little simple poll, not getting into too much late in the year stuff. But I did come across a poll that was done in the Wall Street Journal. And it actually just came out and said, will your business get better, worse, or be the same for you in 2023? A lot going on in the economy. So is it going to be better, worse, the same, or maybe you don't know? So those are your 4 options. Do you think business is going to be better, worse, or about the same in 2023? So, wow, already 52% of you in. Jump in, get one shot at this, better, worse, or the same. Or maybe you don't know. And, that would probably be my answer. I don't know if it's going to be better or not next year. But there's a lot of economic news out there. And we do have some numbers to compare with on a national level. So that gives us a little bit more incentive to do our own local poll and compare it, like we did so often during the pandemic. Compare it to actually the national results. Okay, we are over my magic threshold of 60%, all the way up to 64%, and continuing to climb. Your last chance to get in. Will your business get better, worse, or the same in 2023? Okay, let's end the poll. Let's end the poll and share this particular question. And it looks like I only needed 2 answers. It should have been, will your business be better or worse? And with 62% of you reporting, it's going to be better. 38% of you think it's going to be worse. And mostly I would imagine that's with the economy. So thank you for sharing. Let me stop sharing that. 62% better, 38% worse. And stop the poll. And here is the national results right there. On a national level, with 1,500 respondents from the Wall Street Journal, only 25% thought it was going to be better. And they offered a few more categories, such as substantially better or a little bit better, but we just went with a kind of a broader approach. 25% said better, 18% thought it was going to be about the same, 52% worse, and 5% really didn't know. So compare that with our CSU Bakersfield poll. A few less respondents, obviously, but still 63% of you thinking it's going to be better, whereas only 37% think it's going to be worse. So maybe some things locally that are happening that we don't know about or we're more optimistic about than we are on a national level, but that's always good when we're coming up on the right side of that. So thank you again for actually participating in today's poll, and let's move along. So we mentioned a little bit about the Restaurant Revitalization Tax Credit, which is in both houses of Congress right now. Now, the Restaurant Revitalization Grant was a grant that was open to restaurants. It was open to beverage distillers, retailers, manufacturing, bakeries, you name it. It covered a really kind of wide swath of the food and beverage industry. And it was opened it opened the first week of May in 2021, coming out of the pandemic then. If I recall, there was about $30 billion that was going to go towards small businesses. And what happened was all of those funds were used by individuals that applied the first day it opened. I am thinking that was May the 3rd, 2021. So if you didn't get in until May the 4th, you had no chance of receiving that grant. Also, I could tell you that I have talked to at least a half a dozen or more people that applied on the day that it opened and did not receive the grant. So just being there the first day and getting in line and doing your paperwork and getting in the first day the grant was open did not guarantee that you were going to actually receive that grant. Also, I had talked with a few individuals that had, even though this was kind of limited, that had problems getting in that first day, and that had actually technology issues or some other type of problem. Although I think the SBA portal worked quite well, because that's how you would apply through an SBA portal. So for those that applied, you know what I'm talking about. Those in other industries, this really was encompassing all of food and beverage almost. A lot of eligibility, like all of these particular programs. So at the end of the day, there was about 175,000 businesses that did not receive this grant. So also, there's still a lot of lingering questions and issues that are going on in that particular industry. You know, I love to throw around the 80-20 rule, and how oftentimes everything seems to focus on 80% one direction, 20% the other. And during the pandemic, 80% of our small business restaurants, probably like many other businesses during the pandemic, suffered. And they suffered, they were one of the more suffering industries that were out there. So obviously 20% probably did well. Those that had drive-throughs, for example, or had good delivery systems or were able to pivot to good delivery did better. Those that had the drive-through and had products that could easily deliver and a business model that allowed for delivery did fine. So those that did not, though, were those business models that just weren't designed for, some type of quick serve format, etc. So Congress now is looked into trying to get more funds into the restaurant revitalization program. They tried to get more funds in it earlier this year, but were denied. So now what they have is they have a tax credit that is in the work that would offset payroll taxes up to $25,000 per quarter in 2023. It is skewed for those businesses that have fewer employees. So if you have 10 or fewer employees, they would be able to offset up to that full $25,000 for the entire year. And then the cap is on refundability is reduced for those that are over 10. So to qualify, though, you have to have had experience in an operating loss of at least 30% in 20 or 21 compared to 2019. So like many of the pandemic programs, they're really geared toward those that were directly affected by COVID. So you 20% out there that had your delivery, that had your drive-through, you're most likely not going to qualify. So there's, the other or losses of up to 50% in either 20 or 21 compared to 19. Also, businesses had to be in operation as of March 14th, 2020, and must have paid payroll taxes in at least 2 quarters of 2021. So if you didn't have employees or you didn't have employees on the books, then it's not going to work for you if you didn't have at least 2 quarters of payroll taxes, mostly after the damage, after the pandemic in 2021. And again, this would affect the 175,000 who applied and did not receive the grant. So presently, this bill, there was a version introduced into the Senate, and it is making its round. And then last week, there was the House version. They're pretty similar, and since they are still kind of working their way through Congress, they are not law at this point, but it is something to keep in mind if you're in that restaurant business, you applied for this and you did not receive the grant, that potentially could be coming down the pipe. Okay, some other news that might affect those that had some type of pandemic relief is pandemic relief programs where you had repayment. And specifically, let's focus on the EIDL program. So the Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program had a 30-month deferral. Those deferrals are coming due, but where it was hoped that 30 months would buy enough time in order to actually, get us through a very difficult period of time, being the pandemic and being the recovery from the pandemic. Of course, we fell into harder economic times this year. And those economic times are projected to continue into next year. My latest poll that I saw from economists nationwide, 63% of them thought we would have a recession next year. And really, that's kind of the intent of the Federal Reserve in order to raise interest rate, is to slow down business activity, to slow down costs and slow down pressure on wages and housing and other things in order to reduce those costs and stop that spiral of inflation that can go on for literally many years. So, if you had still the EIDL loan program and you're having difficulty, work on trying to get a larger deferment. Work on with the SBA on trying to delay a little bit longer as far as beginning repayment of that particular loan until hopefully times get better. We talked a little bit last week also about the on-the-jobs credit program, OJT, through America's Job Center, and that has increased the reimbursement up to 90% for smaller employers. And again, the ETR, the Employment Training Resource, or America's Job Center, here in Kern County, they did over 460 so far this year on the job training contracts. And these are contracts issued by America's Job Center to employers, and but less than only 20% of them go to smaller firms. And that is something I really want to see next year, that we do a better job of going to these particular programs. And when you have training programs or positions that require a lot of training, this is really a good vehicle to cut the cost of bringing on and onboarding new employees. So again, less than 20% of those went to smaller firms. That's something we're going to be working on, trying to get that number increased for 2023. We've talked a lot in the last probably 18 months on the employee retention credit. And I know in talking to Jay Thompson, when he comes on next week, he's going to talk about some of the issues that he sees with the credit in the field. He had some pretty good stories, or pretty bad stories, depending on how you look at it, on some of the things that are happening with firms that are taking the employee retention credit. First of all, of course, you have to qualify for that, and there are eligibility requirements. It is, since it's again a COVID COVID program, and was designed for those that were affected and had sales drop in COVID. It remains an attractive option for many that were affected. But then again, for others, if you are not affected, then really you shouldn't be applying. But we'll talk about some of those consequences and get more into this next week for those that applied, maybe those that are having issues, and what to look forward to with the employee retention credit. So our Capital Corner, we love our Capital Quarter, which is our capital access for small business. Weekly, we come in and talk about, give you a lot of answers for trying to access capital. So let's give you some questions. This, it's the end of the year almost. So first question is, what are possible funding alternatives in 2023 with higher cost of debt? So if it's going to cost you more money to potentially grow your business, or to actually sustain your business in 2023, what is a better way to do it, or maybe another option, at least, as far as other than debt? Well, off the top of my head, a couple of answers come, and one would be, investment in that particular business. That investment could, dilute the ownership that you have in it. So, it's going to be an individual case-by-case basis, but that's one of the options. That's one of the answers to this question as we play a little Capital Quarter Jeopardy with you today. So what are the possible funding alternatives in 2023? One might be taking on partners or partners and actually getting investment into your business that isn't repaid, but you give up ownership. So that would be one possible option. There are some others, and we'll get into those maybe a little bit next week. Question number 2, should higher interest rate affect your plans to grow your business? Again, it's going to be a case-by-case basis. And of course, that's the Federal Reserve and what they're banking on. That's what they want. They want to raise rates and slow things down so we can stop inflation. But as an individual business owner, you have to look out for your own business. And maybe yours is in the 20% that needs to grow or wants to grow. So should you have plans, and really, should you take on additional debt even though it's higher? And again, that's going to be a case-by-case basis, but you shouldn't be afraid of debt just because it comes with a higher interest rate. The real true story in that is going to be, what are the opportunity costs that you lose by not making that investment and growing your business? So oftentimes that could be higher than the cost of the 10% or more interest rates that are floated nowadays. So, I used to tell a story a long time ago, back in the 1980s, I ran into a client that had interest rates on his SBA loans of 24%. He got it right at the peak. And yet still, when I talked to him in the late 80s, early 90s, he was 8 or 10 years into this loan. I believe it was a 15-year loan. And even with super high interest rates, his business had that capital and took that capital and was able to grow. And they were able to grow and sustain that growth, turn it into profits, even though they did have high interest rates and paid a high cost for that debt. But it was worth it because of the return that they got from that capital. So it really comes down to that return value and what you can actually earn off of that higher interest rate. And lastly, our capital quarter question will be, well, entrepreneurship programs. So entrepreneurial programs that were coming around in 2022 to boost business starts. We talked about the California Dream Fund. And there's some others, but will they come around again and possibly return in 2023? And we hope they do. We think that for sure there will be a local program in the Kern County region in 2023. And we also are hopeful that that there is another iteration or another year of the California Dream Fund. But those are politics way above my pay grade, so we'll wait and see on that. But questions on Capital Quarter this year. Okay, in our economic corner, we'll take a little bit different approach as well, as we're here late in the year in 2022. And what we found out this week was housing sales. And there are people and their businesses that are associated with housing, so definitely something to be concerned with. But sales slid for the 10th consecutive month. So 10 months now, going all the way back to March of 2022, or maybe even February 2022. So with housing sales sliding for the 10th straight months, we hear from economists and others that the housing correction is expected to be way different from the last one. And that last one goes all the way back to the financial market meltdown and the financial crisis of 2007 to 2009, where the bubble did break and burst all over the place. But this is expected to be considerably different than the last one. So housing continues to show weakness. Again, that was one of the higher areas where there was inflation. And as long as housing had really strong demand, the price for it to increase was still there, hence more inflation. So 10 months is kind of designed to stop those increases and to get that under control. It appears to be working. The other thing that's interesting is that the U.S. Consumer Confidence Index rose this month to its highest mark since April. So lately, the consumer is starting to feel a little bit more bullish. Perhaps the gas prices going down and other inflationary pressures going down has made the U.S. consumer a little bit more confident. And that mark is at its highest level since April. And lastly, on the economic corner is that Congress is on the verge of some type of retirement reform that will affect 401k plans. So this, of course, is going to be offered to encourage employees to save more and also to defer even to later years when you have to start taking mandatory retirement withdrawals once you have a retirement plan. So right now, I think it's around 70 years old. I think they're trying to move it up to 75, and I see a couple of reasons for that. Maybe the main one is the weakness in the employment market, and a lot of people electing to retire and to move on. Maybe this entices a few more with that institutional knowledge to stay in their positions and work a little bit longer. Okay, so also we have the Kern County Small Business Micro Grant Program. And this program is open still until May 31st, 2023. We can assist you with applying, and then what we do is we look at the application and forward it on to the County of Kern, who makes the ultimate decision. So we support that with looking at your documentation, but we also have the free one-on-one consulting, so you can really get a good look at the bigger picture, and that bigger picture really can help you grow that particular business. Our phone number is 661-654-2856. Call for more information. Also, the Kern County Small Business Micro Grant Program has a lot of eligibility requirements as well. And some of the main reasons that we see clients that are not eligible is that they received the California Relief Grant from Lindustry.com. So if you received either $5,000, $15,000, or $25,000, you're not going to qualify. Also, if your sales exceeded $50,000 in 2019, not good. Not a major source of income or other eligibility issues. Our Dream Fund is closed. The application period is now done. We worked with about 60 small businesses, those wanting to become small businesses, and helped them go through their training, business plan, technical assistance. Many of them went on to apply for the $5,000 to $10,000 grants. And like I said, hopefully it'll come back and we will have more information on that. If you want information on past Webinar Wednesdays, go see our CSUB SBDC YouTube channel, and you'll see some good ones in there. One of them looks like needs to be updated as we move into January in a few weeks, that HR and California law update. So hopefully we can get Celeste Young Ramos back and get that information and get her updated. The last one still had a lot of good information in it. Cybersecurity continues to be a huge issue and problem for small businesses. And then our COVID EIDL, the Economic Injury Disaster Loan with SBA's Israel R. Jr., obviously a good one, along with our Eastern Sierra Capital Summit with many presenters talking about lots of different programs. Okay, joining us today, we have Dr. Seung Bach. He is the interim dean of the School of Business and Public Administration, the executive director of the Center for Entrepreneurship and Innovation, and professor of entrepreneurship at California State University, Bakersfield. We had Dr. Bach on about 6 months ago when he was the associate dean of the School of Business and Public Administration. Now, as the interim dean of the school and also running the Center for Entrepreneurship and Innovation, he received his PhD from the University of Tennessee in Knoxville, his MBA from George Washington University, and his Master of Science in Management from the Hanyang University in Seoul, Korea. Dr. Bach joined CSUB from California State University, Sacramento, where he held positions as professor of entrepreneurship and strategy, was the faculty director of their Center for Entrepreneurship, and also worked some undergraduate programs, was chair of the Strategic Task Force, area liaison for management area, and the faculty coordinator for the Center of Small Business. He joins us today on recording in order to maximize this wonderful holiday season. Dr. Bach, thank you for joining us. It's great to have you with us, and take it away.
Thank you, Kelly. As Kelly introduced me, I'm Seung Bach, interim dean of the School of Business and Public Administration. At the same time, I'm wearing another hat. I'm the executive director for the Center for Entrepreneurship Innovation. So today, I'm going to introduce Center for Entrepreneurship one more time. I actually was in webinar a few months ago to introduce Center for Entrepreneurship. And also, I was introducing an inaugural cohort for this Center for Entrepreneurship back in September, but I'm going to do it again to promote the Center for Entrepreneurship and also its CSU Venture Accelerator program today. Okay, that's it. Next slide. So, what is Center for Entrepreneurship Innovation? Before I getting into a new Venture Accelerator, let me just tell you what are the key programs on the CEI. CEI is the Center for Entrepreneurship Innovation. So first one is New Venture Accelerator, which I introduced a few months ago. Second one is Entrepreneurship Passport Program. This one is just for the student on campus. That we listed all on campus and off campus near that the Kern County. Sometimes the event listed from the LA area as well. And for the student to get sense of this entrepreneurship through this event. So we encourage our students to attend or participate or both, so that they can get the stamp on this, the passport, actual passport, so they can get rewarded at the end of the program, depending upon how many stamps they collected. So we prepared for 6 months for this form. We were waiting for new semester begin. Next spring semester, we're gonna start to have this passport program going into the student. Third one is technology transfer program, which is coming from EDA fund. EDA grant we received back in July. That let us have this technology transfer program. Key feature behind that is, as you know, Kern County, particularly from the Eastern Kern County, we have 2 government lab, Air Force Research Lab. At the same time, little nose, the China Lake, we have a Naval Warfare Research Lab. So those government-driven federal lab has lots of technology available. And we, as a Center for Entrepreneurship, going to be in between to bring in those technologies to the town and let our student researcher at the same time entrepreneurs use those technology in creating their business. That's a technology transfer program. We're trying to do it. For that, to that end, we are about to hire a coordinator under the center to facilitate this program in the community. Stay tuned. It's going to be unveiled very soon. The fourth one is the CEI speaker series. So we bring in the business leaders and also successful or unsuccessful entrepreneurs on campus to let them share their experience and knowledge. And the student and all the general public is invited to that speaker series. Sometimes those speaker series are flipping into the panel discussion. So we're going to have a very interactive session through this speaker series as well. And the fourth and fifth one, maybe fifth and sixth one is still in planning place. The emerging technology lab is in plan. This one includes the VR lab or artificial intelligence lab. Those things we're gonna bring in those the new technology, emerging technology in the fourth generation of industry revolution area. Let the student and researcher and general public can kind of use them. And Innovation Expo is just like that. Expo, we are bringing in a lot of new venture entrepreneurs and the innovation company who has technology, having them showcase their innovation capacity in town so that we can have a moment to cross-pollinate a lot of different ideas in town and under the umbrella of creating new ventures in town. Okay, that's main program under CEI. And next, I'm going to talk about a little bit more detail about this New Venture Accelerator. New Venture Accelerator is a 10-week cohort-based entrepreneurship bootcamp. I think that is the easiest way to explain that. Through this 10-week program, we provide 3 key components. Number 1, we try to build in entrepreneurial competency among these 10. Okay. And the second one is we try to provide specific tool sets to these entrepreneurs, whether they can use that in their venture process. We have very well-structured curriculum within the accelerator, starting from the design thinking to legal counsel. So Kern is going to have a very clear set of a tool set at the end. Okay. Third, not the last one, but not the least one, is funding strategy. Always in the 10th week, as an exit program, we are hosting a pitch competition. This one is just emulate that how they're gonna pitch their idea to the investor group. So we will do those funding strategies as a part of the program as well. Okay. So why we need that? And of course, there is a huge economic impact we can expect from this entrepreneurship community, the new job creation, and also new wealth creation is known by the statistic and researcher. Specifically in this region, as we all know, there was and there has been B3K Prosperity Initiative. In that B3K, the Brookings Consulting from the Washington, D.C. came in to produce a report. It clearly say that there are 5 key things this Kern County need to have to make this economy prosper. First one is we need to have a talented group, keep in those talented group in town. Number 2, we have to build innovation capacity. Number 3, we have to have better infrastructure, including a broadband, a smart city capacity. And also 4th one is a well-designed governance system in place. This one, we need to have more traded sectors of the private industry. These are the 5 key suggestions from the Brookings under B3K. So CEI pinpoint on those 2 out of 5 as a motivation to build this venture accelerator. Number 1, we want to keep our talent in town. Of course, accelerator want to keep our entrepreneurs stay in town, do their job. Number 2, innovation capacity. We have to bring in technology. We must embrace those new ideas in town to make them be more creative, innovative. So that's innovation element of the B3K. So we embrace these 2 out of 5 suggestions from the B3K. Within the CEI, we believe that the new venture accelerator under CEI is going to be instrumental tool to make it happen. Okay. So let's go more detail about this accelerator program. As I said, this one is a code-based program. We normally accept 3 to 9 per each cohort. The CEI designs to do 3 cohorts in a 1 fiscal year. Normally, first one start from the September to November. Second one begin from February, ended up in April. And third one during the summer, which is start from the May and ended up culminating in July. So right now, as I highlighted on this slide, we are in the middle of recruiting second cohort, February and April cohort at this time. This year, we decided not to go with the summer cohort, but from next year, we're gonna doing all 3 cohorts per year. It is in plan. Okay. As I said, it is a boot camp program. We bring in tenants 1 day in a week, a 4 hour in each session. The second cohort, the February cohort, we haven't decided about the meeting date and time yet, but if I'm going back to first inaugural cohort, we met every Saturday morning, 8:30 to 12:30. Everybody coming campus, we get together in one conference room. We went through our 10-week program every Saturday morning. But in this second cohort, depend upon who's going to come in, that we survey what the best time and date that we can meet. We'll decide from there. So it's still TBA. And each session is taught by actually a group of instructors. Instead of one instructor coming in to all 4-hour session, we have combination of industry expert and also CSU faculty. Sometimes I chime in as well as a part of the instructor. Okay, and we designed this one as in-person campus program, curriculum-driven and developed by the CEI team. I listed a few of those elements down there. We start from the team building, lean startup concept, customer validation. We spend a lot of time on the customer validation. We touch on business model. We try to use the emerging technology, resource planning, marketing, digital marketing, financial plan, everything we have already developed in program. So we're going to deliver those curriculum in the everyday session. Okay. So let me go back to a recap what we did for the first inaugural cohort. We had about 50 plus application came into, and through the 2-tier interview process, we selected 9 final tenants. So 9 tenants, 9 members, 9 ventures were in first inaugural cohort. The program was begun September 10th, which is a Saturday. We ended up November 5th, which is another Saturday, as a 9th session. And the following week was the holiday week. So we had a 1-week pause, and we came back to November 18th. We pitched, we hosted culminating the event at there, which was a CEI pitch competition. All 9 tenants pitched their business to the public. We came up with a 3-judge panel. A judge panel had a Q&A after each of those ventures 5-minute pitch, and we ended up selecting the first and second and third place. For your information, first place was gone to the mobile car wash vehicle, and through that we were able to give a $2,500 seed capital for that company. Okay, and in between, I think it was the 3rd week, we had open house. All the CEI advisory board member was invited. We got together to unveil our inaugural cohort. The CSUB administrators were attending to celebrate together, and look back, we had 4 CSUB faculty member participate in 10-week session. And also I count all guest speaker, guest lecturer. There was a 21 guest lecturer from the industry. So the 25 and more people as instructor chime in this 10-week program. It was very engaging, very impactful session. Let me give you a little bit of the sense by showing you a few pictures. So this one is a typical session you can expect on our BPA conference room. The guest speakers coming in person. Sometimes they are in different state. They are connecting through the Zoom. So we have a real-time Zoom session or in-person visitation from the lecturer. This is typical session. Okay, next one. I'm sorry, this one is last 10th week culminating event. We call it the pitch competition. It was total number of attendees for that event was about 65, 70 people coming from the campus, coming from the community, and coming from the high school, local high school. A lot of people coming in to see how those 9 tenants prepared their business for the last 10 weeks. It was great event. We ended up select the first and second and third. So the next thing in which we plan at this time is each cohort have first and second and third. And after third cohort in each year, we're gonna have I call tentatively called a Champions League. The first and second place will be invited back to the Champions League, meaning that after third cohort, we're gonna have a 6th of the business. Gonna compete again in another pitch competition for a bigger prize money. That's what is in plan at this time. So stay tuned. Okay, we announced that one real quick. So if you have interest in participating in this new Venture Accelerator program, which gonna be started February again, a 2nd cohort, please go visit the CEI website and please submit your intake questionnaire. This intake questionnaire asks you about you and your idea and your commitment level. And that won't take too much time. Please submit it by before actually end of January. Those intake questionnaire will be open right after Christmas. We plan to open a 2nd cohort application period December 26th, 2022. two, and different to the first the cohort, we add another one. We found that out if you submit a 2-minute video clip about you and your business, if you just shoot the video clip by using your phone, doesn't have to be high resolution. If you just record about yourself and your business and submit along with the intake questionnaire, that will be very helpful in interviewing process. Okay, and that's your the application. With that, the CEI group gonna review, and the semi-finalists, I would say about 15 to 20 out of total number of applicants will be invited to the semi-final interview during the week of February 6th. Okay, total free. If you're admitted, everything is free, including refreshment and sometimes the breakfast or lunch, and we will take care of that. Okay, so application period, one more time recap, gonna be open right after Christmas, December 26th. We're gonna wrap up January 23rd, 2023. Right after that, we're gonna go through the review process. Likely during the week of February 6th, all semi-finalists will be invited for the interview with CEI advisory member. The following week, that we make a decision, the final cohort member, as I said, 3 to 9. We love to have many, but depend upon the pool of the applicant that we may go down to 3 or 4. So 3 to 9 tenants will be finally selected and invited to the cohort. And then second cohort likely will be begun during the week of February 20. That's process behind it, okay? So next a few slides, I'm gonna give you what that the CEI's website looks like. On the right bottom column, I highlighted the URL, www.csb.edu/CEI. When you click that, you will see this the CEI website. On your right column, there is key program listed. If you are looking in intake questionnaire for this new Venture Accelerator program, click down on the Venture Accelerator. Then you will end up this web page, and all the way bottom, you will see that click to submit your intake questionnaire. Okay? Then you just fill it out, and likely you will see that another icon just looks like that intake questionnaire saying that submit your 2-minute video clip as well. Okay, both of them necessary to be in the pool. So let me wrap up my the presentation to the community by mentioning these CEI leadership team and advisory member. These high-profile community members are serving for the CEI as advisory member. You see how many names recognized. They coming from private industry, they coming from the foundation, they are expert in small business like Mr. Bearden, and also educator, and sometimes lawyer, sometimes the technology person. We try to have these 9 different advisors coming from 9 different industries. Also, as I introduce myself, I'm Seung Bach, the Executive Director of the Center for Entrepreneurship. We have a faculty director, Dr. Jeremy Wood, who is known as entrepreneurship person, the entrepreneurship person in town. Dr. Jeremy Wood is taking in as faculty director. We have 2 other faculty members from the BPA as a clinical faculty of the CEI, Dr. Sumita Sarma, and also Dr. Angela Amaya. Dr. Angela Amaya are going to be another CEI clinical faculty member. Okay. As I said here, this slide about the target industry, but that doesn't mean we're only going to focus on this targeted industry. I just want to say that these industries we see as really valuable industry. We like to have it, but that doesn't mean you should come from this industry. as you see, petroleum and energy industry is a really important. Kern County, aerospace, remote business, advanced manufacturing, ag tech, it is all really important. Sometimes people come in this form and accelerator program outside of this industry, and through the 10 week, we call that pivoting. You can pivot into this strategically targeted industry of Kern County. We love to see that happen. We want to be very instrumental in switching your business from A to B or B to C through this 10-week bootcamp program. Okay, we are all welcome. The CSUB students are welcome. CSUB alumni is welcome. CSU faculty and staff welcome. More importantly, our all community members are welcome to be part of the CEI and Venture Accelerator. Okay. I listed 2 more websites one more time, and the CEI website and also Accelerator program application website on this slide. If you want to, please contact me or Mr. Kelly Bearden for more information. All right. I think that's about my presentation. I know some of you took watched my first presentation in this SBDC. Maybe you see a lot of redundant, but I just want to take this opportunity to promote the accelerator, a second cohort particularly, and I'd love to see your intake questionnaire as your application. Thank you so much. Once again, this is Seung Bach. You can contact me anytime if you have any questions. Thank you so much. Kelly?
Well, thank you, Dr. Bach. It's great to have such a great program that is available to so many people and to so many different individuals that are both on campus or off campus. So that is fantastic. So get everything back here. Okay, so one thing I just want to kind of leave you with kind of my findings from the first accelerator, and it was really an interesting process to where it was 9 individuals that were going through the particular 9 businesses that were going through that first accelerator, and the program being on a Saturday and being 4 hours, at least the first one, and 10 weeks, really. All 9 stuck with it. It was really impressive and really became, I think, better businesses going through that particular process with the focus and that direction and some of the learning that went on through that particular program. So for me, it was, I thought, fantastic from that perspective. So, but if you do have questions for Dr. Bach, either go to the website. Again, the next cohort will be beginning in February and will run from February to April. It's unknown exactly what the date and time is going to be for that. It'll probably be determined by the participants themselves, or at least they will at least have significant input into that. So I think that is about it on the CEI Accelerator program. I think we are about out of time. Jay Thompson is going to join us next week, and we're going to be talking about last second year-end strategies. Those could be some for tax. They could be for business planning purposes. They could be for legal aspects. They could be on your entity. So we're going to have a lot of different options. And who knows, maybe we'll find someone else to jump in here for the last webinar of 2022. So that's going to wrap things up for today. So for our producer, Maureen Busherdang, I'm Kelly Bearden. We'll be back next week. Number 256 will be coming your way. We'll be live, at least on this end of things. So come back next week. We'll see you then. Everybody have a great week. Have a very Merry Christmas. Have a wonderful holiday season, a happy Hanukkah, etc. So goodbye, everybody.